right now restorative yoga with me right here, plus guided meditation. We'll be doing meditation for healing this evening. Clearly, something that might be useful at the moment. So, you definitely want to have a nice, quiet, peaceful space to do your practice in. You might have your yoga mat. You may decide to have some yoga blankets or blocks or a bolster or pillows or any other kind of props that you might like to use, especially when we get towards the latter part of practice as restorative. I have been putting together playlists to use for these classes. When we get to the last part of the class, it's meditation, so there won't be any music to go along with it. But the first about 20 minutes, and when we get a little bit of movement going on and some stretches, I've put together what I think is a useful playlist to kind of prep us to get towards healing. And so if you want to use that, you can find that on Spotify at LJ Hash. This playlist is labeled today's date, April 4th, 2020. So if you want to play that at the same time you're playing your Facebook Live, I've checked it out, at least on my Mac, that does work. So hopefully you'll find that it works for you as well. So, all right. Hopefully you're now ready. You got your space set. You've got your digital devices set for practice. So you can choose to start in whatever shape you'd like to. I'm going to suggest to start in seated today. If you prefer to be in a child's pose or on your back or on your side or some other shape, you certainly can do that. We'll start the playlist a few moments after we begin the practice, so I'll give you a kind of a 3, 2, 1 countdown on that if you're going to use that as well. So finding your comfortable shape, whatever it is, seated, child's pose, on your back, whatever suits you. And just come to some stillness. And so now make the distinction in your mind that this next 45 to 50 minutes is your time to practice yoga. Your time to become more aware of what's going on right there where you're at. But in this evening's practice, you may add an additional intention to cultivate healing. Now, it's possible that you yourself are the one that is going to need the healing, or you may have a specific other person or people that you want to send some healing energy to. Or you may decide that you want to share healing energy with the whole world, which right now, we can all use. I've been told that this evening around 9:45 there's a particular astronomical occurrence that is an indicator and a significant time for healing. And so when we're in our meditation at the very end of practice, the alignment of the stars will potentize the sending of healing energy. So do make that brief observation of the conditions that are present within you at the moment. What's going on with your physical body? What's going on with your breath? What are the conditions in the mind? And then start to take active control of the breath. I'll suggest that you begin to develop your Ujjayi breath, and it's a development. It doesn't, automatically just jump into it and it's happening, but it takes a few moments to kind of refine and explore what's going on. The Ujjayi, this is the breath that inhales through both nostrils, allowing the torso to expand. Perhaps it's belly, ribs, chest, kind of in that order on the inhale. On the exhale, chest, ribs, navel center, squeezing out. So the inhale through the nostrils, exhale back out through the nostrils, developing that little bit of a sound. The breath, perhaps sounds a little bit like the ocean or a breeze. Sometimes it's a little bit more gravelly than that. That sound emanating from the back of the throat. So start to smooth the breath out so that the inhale and exhale become the same length of time, right? There's no pauses in the breath. It's absolutely smooth and fluid. I'm going to suggest a pace of around 4 seconds by 4 seconds. Your pace may be different than that. It may be slower, 5s or 6 or 7 or 8 or wherever it is. If it's a little quicker than that, 2 or 3 seconds, don't force anything in the practice, but maybe you can slow it down. And if maybe at first it doesn't slow down, perhaps a little later in the practice it'll start to slow down. So I'm going to start to initiate the playlist here. April 4th, 2020 is the name of it here on LJ Hash on the Spotify app. First song is actually a Steve Miller Band song called Space Intro, and we'll just roll right through them one after the other. So we'll start the playlist, if you're going to use it with me, here in 3, 2, 1. Breath smooth and fluid. So our first movements are going to begin on our backside. So you may slowly start to make your way to that shape if you're not already there. Just take your time. Breath is still smooth and fluid even though we're changing our shape. So you might have the legs out long, or you might have the soles of the feet on the floor. You may have some other shape. Breath is smooth and fluid. Our first movements are going to begin here now with our arms. So stretch the fingertips apart from each other and stretch the fingertips down towards the feet so you feel the shoulders get a little bit of activity, and then take the arms and reach up towards the sky and reaching back behind the head if that's okay for your shoulders. On the exhale, bring the hands reaching back up, reaching forward, and hands come down next to the hips. Continue to move now. Inhale, arms reaching. Exhale, arms reaching back up, reaching forward, coming down next to the hips. Smooth and fluid. Keep moving here. Just the arms. Breath smooth and fluid. So now the next inhaling cycle, let it be just the left arm only, reaching up and back behind the head. On the exhale, that left arm comes back down next to the hips. Then taking it over, right arm on the next inhale. Smooth and fluid stuff here. Watching to see where in these movements, keep moving, right? Where in the movements are there places where things have a little hitch, or they go faster or slower, trying to smooth those little, irregularities or roughnesses out. Last time here with the right arm, and then when that right arm naturally makes it down next to the hips, pause there. You could take the hands to the outside of the thighs and then draw the knees, thighs in towards the chest. Hands can come around the shins. You could lift the lower back tailbone off the floor. Feel that little bit of a curl. And then let the lower back come back down to the floor. Take the hands inside the knees and slowly take the knees outside the body. A little bit of a stretch in the inner thigh. Remember, knees can go straight out to the side or more towards the foot side of the mat or more towards the crown of the head side of the mat. You could be static, I mean you might find just that one place that you need to kind of hang out in, or you may have a little bit of movement. And then bring the knees in towards the center. Use the hands to help that happen, and then let the legs extend straight up towards the sky. We don't want it where the legs are out away from the body and you feel like the abs and lower back are working. You want it where the legs are a little bit more like dead weight, but put a slight structure in the legs. Press the heels slightly towards the sky. Tops of the feet flex a little towards the shins, and tailbone presses down to the floor. Now you can check me out on these things. If you just let the legs kind of sort of hang out in there, the pose is a little less meaningful. You get a little less out of it. When you find that structure in the legs, it makes it a little bit something more. Take the arms now and reach up towards the sky, and then if it's okay with your shoulders, arms reach back behind the head, nice and long here. So inhale, reaching through fingertips, pressing through the heels. On the exhale, bend the knees and bring the hands back down next to the hips so the thighs come in towards the chest. On the inhale, legs straighten, arms go back. On the exhale, everything comes back down to the floor. Smooth and fluid. Trying to put the movement of the arms and legs in perfect unison with your breath, whatever that count is, and eliminating places where things are going faster or slower. So the next time we go with our inhale, we're going to change it up and go opposite leg and opposite arm. So the next one, let it be the left leg and the right arm, smooth and fluid. And you might find that sometimes things have changed here. Now, other side, left arm, right leg. So while you keep going side to side here, so while you may have found a little bit of that symmetry when it was all four limbs, now sometimes things are a little bit rougher as just the opposite leg and opposite arm. Last one here, left arm and right leg. After it comes all the way down here, let the soles of the feet come down to the floor, about hips width apart and heels pretty close to the tail. Preparing to go into bridge. And so the preparation, first it's the stance, then it's the engagement of the legs, right? So don't lift the lower back up off the floor, but almost lift up. Feel the thigh muscles engage. Try to soften the buttocks a little bit here. Press into all four corners of both feet. And on the inhale, let the hips rise up into the sky. On your exhale, let the hips roll down to the floor. Just a few more times with that action. On the inhale, lifting hips up into the sky. Exhale, rolling hips down towards the floor. So just getting a little bit of movement here to break some things up. A lot of us are spending quite a bit of time at home here, and so even though it's restorative, we'll find just a little bit of movement at the beginning part of this practice. Let yourself come down to the floor here. Draw the knees in towards the chest. If it's okay for the arms again to reach back up behind the head, find that action. Interlace the fingers, point the index fingers away, and feel that length as you point those index fingers away. And you might even kind of just walk the tailbone away from the fingertips so you feel extra length. And then release the hands. If it's okay to roll through the right side, let that happen. If you're pregnant or have an injury, you don't want to roll to the right side. You'll go to the left side. Also, if you have a microphone thing on your right side like I do, you don't go to the right side. So making your way through your side and then come into an all fours. So I try not to get too tangled up here, which is a little bit of a trouble, but we'll get to it. So coming into all fours. On your inhale, you're all fours. On the exhale, let the hips go back to the heels. Child's pose. Inhale, coming into all fours. Exhale, hips to heels. Child's pose. Just a few more times here. Inhale, pulling forward. Exhale, hips to heels. And then the next time, hips go back to the heels, pause there. You might turn the 10 toes underneath and get that little stretch through the toes. You might kind of lean over to one side or over to the other side. And then pull into all fours. Bring the left hand a little bit more into the center of the mat. You're careful with your shoulder, particularly in this next little sequence. Let the right arm now extend forward, just straight forward. Look down at the mat, and then take the right arm out to the right side. Turn your vision to look to that right hand. And on the inhale, take that right arm up towards the sky. On the exhale, let this arm thread underneath. We're going to keep moving here. So you twist it here, looking over to the left side. On the inhale, right arm all the way up to the sky. Exhale, back of the right hand slides underneath, torso and face turn to that left side, twisting that way. Inhale, right arm up to the sky. And then last time here, exhale, slide it underneath. And then we'll inhale, take it up to the sky, and let that right arm now reach forward and come down to the floor. Right hand a little bit more in the center. Left arm extends forward, looking down at the mat. Stretch, reach here. Breath still moving. Left arm out to the left side. Turn and look at that left arm, and then take it up to the sky. That's your inhale, twisting this way. On the exhale, left hand slides underneath. Maybe left shoulder comes towards the floor, turning the torso to the right. On the inhale, take it up to the sky. Big twist. Exhale, take it through. Keep moving a few times here with your breath. Inhale, opening. Exhale, twist. Inhale, take it up to the sky, and then on this one, on the exhale, let that left arm come over the top, come down to the floor. Bring yourself into a little bit more stable all fours. So shoulders over the wrists, the elbows have that little slight rotation in, and then we'll do this kind of a variation on the Sphinx pose. And so the Sphinx pose, it's just requiring us to do some things here with the elbows. So we're going to try to have a slight squeeze of the elbows inwards, and then bend them back just a little bit. As you bend the elbows backwards just a little bit, right? Keep the elbows in the same plane with these middle fingers, right? So the forearms in this same plane. You'll start to push the hips back with the elbows squeezing in. You'll start to feel some stuff potentially there in the shoulders. So your elbows, forearms come down towards the floor, kind of like a sphinx. And so the key thing here is don't let the elbows flare out. That'll take the sensation away. Your forearms don't have to make it to the floor. Your chin might tuck in a little bit more towards your chest. Hips might push a little bit more towards your heels. Your breath is still moving, slow and steady. Release the intensity and slowly come into all fours. Line the shoulders up, maybe just a little bit behind the wrists, and then walk the knees backwards and tops of the feet turn flat as you drop the hips down. Let the heart open up. So squeeze the elbows in, and then again, that little bit of a bend of the elbows backwards. Let your heart and belly push forward for a moment. Then carefully squeeze the navel center in towards the back body and feel a little bit more length along the spine. Your chin might lift some here. Inhale, lengthen the arms, straighten the elbows. Exhale, hips to heels, child's pose. Walk the hands now over to the left side. Come in off of your mat. You start to increase the stretch for the right side body. Breath is smooth and fluid. So you're eliciting, stay here, stick with it. You're eliciting hopefully a fairly strong response. And on that right side someplace. It could be like in the ribs, could be in the shoulder, could be, in the hips. Breath is smooth and fluid. Careful now, when you're ready, bring the hands through the center. Take them over to the other side. So if you're listening to the playlist, we've got Road to Nowhere with David Byrne, The City in Your Mind, right? This is where we're headed. When you're ready, come back into the center. Coming into all fours. Take the left toes on the mat behind you. Press through the left heel. Reach the crown of the head forward. Optional stuff here. You can keep the left toes on the floor, or the left foot can lift up off the floor. Right fingertips are going to crawl out long. Again, you can keep the fingertips on the floor. You can keep the toes on the floor. Or they both lift up. Stretch. Make distance, but look down at the mat. Next little place. Again, optional stuff here. You can bend the left knee and take the right hand back here. Find that left foot and lift it up. Get that little extra stretch on the front of the left thigh. You can look down, or you can look the face slightly forward, a little curl. You can even look over to the right side and get a slight little twist in here. Breath still moving. Release. Extend back. Hand comes down, knee comes down. Second side, right toes on the mat behind you. Fingertips, left hand crawl out. Right leg might lift. Left hand might lift. And don't feel compelled to take it to these steps. Sometimes these places are just fine. It's all you might need. If the right knee is going to bend, let that happen. Let the left hand come back there. Find that foot. Again, we can look down or slightly forward or over to the left side, getting a slight little twist here. Stretch on the front of that right thigh. And then release, extend. Hand comes down, knee comes down. So we're going to take it into seated pigeon here, guys. So you may find a blanket or block or bolster is going to be useful here. We'll start right side, so we'll take the right toes back again, press through the heel, pick the right knee up, bring the right knee up to the front. Right shin comes up to the front. If this bothers you, you can flip over and do a figure 4 version of this thing. So the block or blankets or pillow or whatever, you want to put them right here underneath that right side kind of hip or glute. And then the theme, or one of the main themes of this practice, healing practice, but also let it go. So just let things soften there for a moment. Sit down into that blanket, right into that block. Bend the elbows, let the weight of the body just kind of slump down into that thing. So you're trying to find a little bit of sensation just from the weight of the body, and then press into the top of the left foot, let the torso get a little bit longer. We're going to hold this place, guys, this variations on pigeon pose for a few moments. So take your time. I suggest don't rush to your kind of ultimate shape. If you're like, where are we headed? You may be staying right here. You might be slowly letting the body start to lean out just a little bit. You may get down to like forearms. You don't have to. You can have hands extended out long. Super useful technique here is to walk the body and hands over to the left side here. You'll increase the sensation that shows up there in the right side. You could also, however, if that doesn't suit you just right, stay in the center or walk the body over to the right side. Right, and that'll change things. If the body goes to the right, you'll feel more stretch on the front of the left kind of hip. Breath smooth and steady. First few moments, you're finding your way into just the right place. When you find that place that's stuck, keep the pressure on softly. But even though you're putting the pressure on, let that stuff go. Let it go, y'all. Breath is smooth and fluid. Stick with it, y'all, and just let that stuff go. Lights will guide you home. And so some of us may need to or want to stay with this side a bit longer. If that's you, take your time. It's your practice. If you're about ready to come out of this thing, try not to jump out, but instead think about every little millimeter of movement in here as being just as important as this deep place you're in. So if you're coming out, slow movement. Slide your blanket or bolster over to the other side where you'll need it over there. Let that right leg, if that's the side you chose to do first, let it go back. Maybe kind of roll around on the toes, pulse the knee. And then for that left side, let the left toes come back on the mat behind you. Press through the heel, just get that little extra stretch outside of the left hip. Pick the left foot up and bring the left knee up towards the front. Again, if this bothers knee or hip or ankle or foot or anything else, you can flip over and make a figure 4 with this left heel coming onto the right thigh. If you're like, what is that? This thing right here. Or we can use the hands and leg to make the sensation show up. Well, if you're coming into this seated posture here, remember, slide this blanket, bolster, whatever it is, couch cushion underneath that left side. And before making it intense, just soften. So we don't want the left hip to drop down and the right hip to open up. We want to keep them level so you're softening straight down. And that's why I suggest, bend the elbows and let the weight of the body just kind of press down. And that'll sometimes start to increase some sensations. Keep that sensation going on. Walk the right toes back, push into the top of the right foot. You can use the arm strength now to get a little length in the torso. And then take your time, right, as you slowly start to work it to depth. And there's dozens of variations on this same kind of pose. And so if you have a particular thing that you love to do, your practice, be safe with it, but do what suits you. Remember, you could go straight out, or maybe the hands and body go over to the right side. That'll increase sometimes the things going on in the left side stretch. Or you could take the body the other way over to the left side, and you'll feel more stretch on the right side body. Stick with it, y'all. It's the last song on our playlist as you're coming into your seated pigeon here. Song about Yoshimi defeating the evil-natured robots. We're not fighting robots right now, but we've got some challenges. So just be present right there where you're at. And feel that resistance that's within your own body. And let go. Breath is smooth and fluid. Let that stuff go, y'all. Literally refining yourself. Repairing yourself. Letting go of that which no longer serves you. Making space for new things, new energy, new possibilities. And so you may choose to stay with this shape a bit longer. When you do decide to come out, again, be mindful, meaningful. So once again, you're going to want to let that leg that's been taking all the tension and releasing it here, let it come back to a little bit of neutral place. Your left leg can extend back, roll around on the toes, bend the knee. So we've come to the part of the practice where we'll come into our restorative shape. And I'll guide you through unconditional healing meditation. Tons of possibilities for your restorative shape. I'm going to suggest a few. You may have something different that you'd like to use. All kinds of possibilities here. So you could go up against a wall and take the legs straight up the wall, right, with the glutes touching the baseboard. Legs could go straight up or they could kind of Y out. That's a super useful pose if you do have a wall space handy. I'm going to suggest that we come into the Supta Baddha Konasana here. So this is where the soles of the feet come together and the knees butterfly open. And you're going to want to use the blocks or your couch cushions or whatever it is and slide them underneath the outer edges of the thighs or knees or calves in such a way and height of pillow or whatever so that the legs can completely release and let go. Again, if you have some different options, perhaps you're putting a bolster behind the knees and have a little tent in the knees, that's a possibility. You might, if supported fish is your favorite pose and you have some blocks to do that, that also is useful here. Remember that if anything appears or feels uncomfortable, you have the responsibility to change, right? To get out of that uncomfortable shape or let go of whatever that technique has caused that discomfort. It's also possible that you prefer to do your seated meditation or your meditation in seated, so you could work to that place, and that's where I'm going to go to. So your first few moments, just like I'm doing here, is kind of getting settled in, adjusting your blanket, or your shape, your pose. So as you find the shape that's going to suit you, just let the body soften. And sometimes that takes a few efforts, right, from the mind to ask the body to just let go. So now we'll begin the steps into our guided meditation for unconditional healing. Maybe the first step is to recognize, again, like we did at the very beginning of practice, where you would just want to send this healing energy. And maybe you send it to all these different kind of components, or maybe you have some very specific things. So possibly for yourself, possibly for another person or people, or possibly sending healing energy to the entire world. So now come to focus on the breath in your still space. We'll use a technique called pure breathing. So the pure breathing is a little bit like the Ujjayi, right? It's, the inhaling through the nostrils and back out through the nostrils with that very soft, especially by this point of practice, very soft sound. But let the breath at this pure breathing be just maybe half to 2/3 capacity. Right, so not the biggest, most complete breaths you can make, but again, half to 2/3 capacity. Smoothing the breath out. Removing any inconsistencies. Absolutely pure breathing. Now still only half to 2/3 capacity, but you may be slowing the speed of the breath down. So go with this technique for just a few moments here. Pure breathing. And so now bring your awareness to a very specific place inside the skull where the breath just barely enters, through the nostrils and comes into the skull. So on the other side of the roof of the mouth, well below the brain, you might say like the floor of the nasal cavity. And just become aware of the breath as it brushes in across that surface, and on the exhale as it washes right back out. Tuning in to the vibrational qualities of your breath, kind of the wavelength or frequency. And so you're literally becoming tuned in to the energy that's moving within your breath. Literally the life force that's moving in with your breath and moving out with your breath. So now we're going to start to concentrate this life force, this presence, in the midbrain. So in the kind of third eye center, behind the eyes, above the nasal cavity, near the kind of center of the skull, near where the pineal gland is, so midbrain. So on your inhale, feel this energy moving into the midbrain center. And on the exhale, feel that energy again skim back out through the nasal cavity, through the nostrils, that little sensation, the floor of the nasal cavity. On the inhale, bringing the energy in, placing it third eye center, concentrating it there. On the exhale, letting energy wash back out. Again, half to 2/3 capacity. Pure breathing. Inhales, concentrating life force energy in the midbrain. Then relax the technique and just feel that presence in the third eye center. Life force, presence, joy, light, love, healing. Now we're going to move this energy. So feeling it in the third eye center, and now move that energy down the length of the spine and bring it to rest just behind the navel center, down here in the abdomen, behind the belly button. Allow this presence, this life force to move down and concentrate, again, right behind navel center. And again, feel love, light, presence, life force, concentrating just behind the navel center. So now we'll take our next step into our meditation. These next 3 phases we'll use a silent mantra, so there's no need to make the sounds, but there will be the possibility of you hearing the sounds within your mind. And so now we're going to move the energy from there in the navel center to the crown of the head. So on your inhale, you sense that life force energy moving up the length of the spine, coming to the crown of the head. On the exhale, let that energy go out in every direction out of the crown of the head. All right, so inhale, bringing life force energy from the navel center up towards the crown of the head. And as this energy comes up, and when you let go of all negativity, all doubt, all preconceptions about what may be resistant to healing. Let it all go. Drawing energy up from the navel center along the length of the spine to the crown of the head. On the exhale, letting go of all those things you need to let go of. So the mantra we'll use here is the sound of the universe, Om. We're going to break it down into its constituent parts. And so on your inhale, hear the first 2 sounds in Om, Ah, Oo. And on the exhale, hear silent mantra, Inhaling, Ah, Oo. Exhaling, letting go of all doubts, all beliefs, all resistance to healing. Ah, ooh, So continue with this for a few moments. Energy from the navel center to the crown, letting go. And so let go of this technique. Just take a few moments to feel that presence at the crown. Light, joy. So now we'll change where we're moving the energy next. So now we'll be moving the energy again from the navel center up the spine, but bringing it to the throat. When the exhale happens, energy out in every direction from the throat. And again, letting go of all preconceived ideas about how healing will happen, or beliefs about things, or even the desire to make something happen, and just let go of all things. Inhaling from the navel center up the length of the spine, feeling this energy move, collecting the energy there in the throat, and on the exhale the energy goes in every direction, freeing up energy in the throat. And so again, we'll use mantra, silent mantra here. The sound now, the sound for peace, the word for peace, Shanti. And so on your inhale, as energy moves from the navel center, you hear the sound Shan. And on the exhale, as energy goes in every direction, you hear T. Inhaling energy up the spine from the navel center to the throat, Shan. Exhaling energy in every direction, T. Silent mantra. Smooth, fluid breath. Using the mantra here, using the energy to dissolve mind. Pure energy moving up the spine to the throat. Exhale, clearing out all blockages, all obstacles, whatever gets in the way of healing. Inhale, Shan. Exhale, T. And pause this technique. And feel Shanti in the throat. Peace. We're coming to the final technique where we'll actually send the energy out to heal. So once again, the energy comes from behind the navel center. As you inhale, bring that energy back to the midbrain. As you exhale, sense this energy going straight out through the forehead, through the third eye center, out to heal yourself, this other person or people, or this other situation, this maybe healing for the whole world. Energy coming up from the navel center, up the spine, concentrating in the midbrain. On the exhale, energy comes out of the third eye center, out of the forehead, out into the universe, directly to the person or situation. Healing energy. And again, we'll use silent mantra. On the inhale, it'll be Om. And on the exhale, Shanti. Om, the energy of the universe, sound of the universe. Shanti, peace. So peace to the universe. Healing energy. Going out the third eye. Sending this energy, if it's to a person, directly to their heart. If it's to the situation, to the world, maybe to the center of the situation, and the energy expands out with each cycle. Literally healing the world, or yourself, or your chosen person or people. Energy to the midbrain. Exhaling out the third eye. At first you may experience some resistance at the recipient. The person or the situation doesn't want to take your healing energy. Again, relax, let go. Don't force it, just let it be this pure energy, peace. Again, relax, let it go. Just let the healing energy move through you. Om Shanti. Finally relax the technique. You may choose to stay still a bit longer. It's your practice space. So don't feel compelled to come into movement just right away. When you do come into movement, let it be real gentle, real gradual. You've been in a position for a while. Whatever shape you're in, you might use the hands to help the legs come into a little bit of movement. If you'd like to finish practice in the traditional cross-legged seated pose, you can slowly make your way there. If you do find that shape, perhaps eyes closed, I would suggest do find a little bit of length in the spine, so there's a subtle engagement in the roots, in the navel center, in the heart, shoulders, and neck. From there you can let the chin drift down towards the collarbone, maybe shoulders drop down, a little stretch in the upper back, neck. It's even possible that you would hinge at the waist and let the body lean out. Even hands could come to the floor, finding a little stretch in the lower back. Guys, thanks to yourself for your practice and this evening for your sending of healing energy. Thank yourself for that. And then thanks to everyone else that participated with us this evening, sending healing to wherever it went to, including yourself. You're more powerful than you know, so thank you so much for your healing energy. And the final thing is this recognition that the essence of each of us is a divine light. We recognize that with the Sanskrit word namaste. So thanks very much, y'all. Love practicing with you. Hopefully you're enjoying these things via the internet or however you're getting it. If you'd like to donate to support the yogi in the studio, you can find a spot to donate at the Refuge Meditations Instagram site right there in their bio. There's a link in the Mind Body. You can donate there. You can also donate directly to me at Venmo as LJ Hash at LJ Hash HASH. So thanks very much, guys. You can also find these many of these practices are going on to my YouTube channel, Oak Cliff Yoga. And so if you want to practice this one again, it'll be up there probably by tomorrow. So thanks again so much. I am practicing tomorrow. I'll be teaching tomorrow from the Refuge Meditations Instagram page. Tomorrow will be Sunday Sun Salutes, and we'll likely do this healing meditation again. So if you want to join in tomorrow at 10:30 Central Time, Dallas time. Thanks again, y'all. I love you. Have a great evening. Be safe. Wear your masks. Wash your hands. Stay home.